So, above all, Picasso suffers from being taken too seriously. He recognizes this himself and is one of the ironical themes of some of his drawings. The indigenous take him too seriously because they attach too much importance to the man prices his works fetch to so assume that he, instead of his hangers-on, is a racketeer. So what I'm taking from this paragraph is that Picasso is aware that he is taken too seriously by some. And it's pretty much the gist of those 3 sentences that I read. So, Picasso. And then the second paragraph, it goes saying, the ostentatiously tolerant take him too seriously because they forgive him his excesses on the ground that when he wants to be, he is a great draughtsman. It's saying that I guess the more cultured people, they also see him as seriously too. I guess from the last sentence, it was more of not the guy's not so familiar with his work. So, and then the next sentence of his goes saying, in fact, this is untrue. His best drawings, if compared to those of other famous artists like Kirikal, Dami of Goya, appear brilliant but not profoundly better. Picasso's future reputation as a great artist would not, as is so often said, be guaranteed by his realistic works alone. So, it's saying, I think this paragraph has 2 ideas, but the main idea, I think, of this paragraph is saying that his work is greater than those before him, even though though his realistic works wouldn't be the primary thing that makes him above others, that makes him not above others, but makes him more memorable than others. And then the next paragraph says, refusing us to take him too seriously because we believe that every mark he has made, the date on which he made it, and the address he happened to be living at are of great significance. The critical minority of the Communist Party take him too seriously because they consider him capable of being a socialist artist, and assume that his political just as a result of dialectical thinking rather than of a revolutionary instinct. People take him too seriously because they assume he is what they want him to be. So I see what's going on is that these past 3 paragraphs are all about people expecting him to be something he really isn't. And then, and because the paragraph 3 is talking more about like how communists see him and how his fans adore him. And then the paragraph 4, Picasso, we should instead recognize as essentially an improviser. And the word improvisation conjures up, amongst other things, associations of a clown and a mimic. They also apply. His importance comes from the fact that he experiments with styles and with whatever material or ideas come his way. So basically, this paragraph is talking about how Picasso is a very good improviser. And then paragraph 5, living through a period of colossal confusion in which so many values, both human and cultural, have disintegrated, Picasso has seized upon the bits, the fragments, the smithereens, then with magnificent defiance and vitality made something of them to amuse us, shock us, but primarily to demonstrate to us by an example of his spirit that with vivid confusion, Alvin to be new ideas, new values, new ways of looking at the world can and will develop. And then that his achievement is not that he himself has developed these things, but that he tries them here or there, uses them where he feels they fit, and tries to get new materials and ideas. So this fifth paragraph is like talking about how Picasso seems to innovate something. He doesn't just take something that's old and copies it, but makes it his own thing, makes it special. And then next paragraph, obviously this shorthand view of Picasso oversimplifies, but it does, I think, go some way to explain other facts about him. The element of caricature in Artist's work, the extraordinary confidence behind every mark he makes, is the confidence of a born performer. The failure of all of his disciples, if you were a profoundly constructive artist, this would not be so. The amazing multiplicity of his styles, the sense that by comparison of any other great artist, any single work by Picasso seems unfinished. The truth behind many of his enigmatic statements. My option to search means nothing in painting. To find is a thing. This is a bit confusing. Obviously, this shorthand view of Picasso oversimplifies, but it does, I think, go some way to explaining other facts about him. The element of caricature in Artist's work, the extraordinary confidence behind every mark he makes, is the confidence of a born performer. The failure of all his disciples, if you're profoundly constructive artist, this would not be so. Amazing multiplicity of his styles, the sense by comparison of any of the great artists, any single work by Picasso seems unfinished. The truth behind many of his enigmatic statements, in my opinion, to search means nothing in painting. To find is a thing. So, I think it's building on from the previous paragraph that explains the characteristics, the characteristics behind Picasso's art, and how that drives him, not drives him, but more like explains more of the intentionality behind his drawing, behind his paintings. And then the last paragraph, look at the drawing of the hands and feet in Guernica. They are based on the work of an efficient cartoonist. They present no more of the ideas of hands and feet. And this is why Guernica can still strike our hearts until we are forced to make resolutions. The ideas of feet, hands, feet, a horse's head, a naked electric light bulb, a mother ravished child are all equally heart-rending and entirely dominated by the idea of the painting. All these different styles are drawn together in an experiment to represent the horror of human brutality. So I think so it's given out, this paragraph is given out an example of a painting that Picasso manages to excuse me, to express all these elements in a way that combines together, even if it's a cartoon way. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the last paragraph. So I think the main idea of this entire passage is that Picasso synthesizes his own work to show a theme, to show something, even if it doesn't look like so in first glance. So on to the questions. Question 1. The author claims that Picasso's fame is not rooted in his skill at creating realistic art. Which of the following statements by the author provides strong support for his claim? The author claims. So it's saying, which supports the claim that Picasso's fame is not rooted in his skill at creating realistic art. Can't be... I'd say cannot be C or D for question 1. They're out of scope. B, between B and A. B is rare, but I don't think it gets to the point of answering the question. I think A is a better justification. Is a better explanation as to why Picasso's fame is not within his skill of creating realistic art. It's more of his because Picasso's realistic drawings are markedly better than others. So it's late for that. Question 2. According to the passage, someone interested in Picasso should focus primarily on which of the following aspects of his work. A, how finished his paintings were. I don't think that's the main point. That's not the main idea, so I'm going to mark that off. What his subjects were would be, that one doesn't tie. It's not the main idea. C, his attempts at using new ideas and ingredients. I want to keep that because that was pretty much the entirety of the last half of the passage, and I think that's what the main idea was about. With D, why Picasso is so fondly remembered. Maybe so. I want to say it's C in this case. Because for the last half, it's Picasso. It's like an explanation of like why does Picasso does this? Why does he synthesize this part, this particular technique to express this theme or whatever in his paintings? So I think it's C with this one. For question 3, which, if assumed to be true, would provide the best evidence to support the author's assessment of why Picasso is a great artist? Not A. That's actually contradicting. That contradicts what was said, I think. B, Picasso's Guernica is considered a masterpiece long after it was painted. I'll keep that for now. Picasso received no actual formal training as an artist. With D, most of Picasso's work is not released to the general public. So I don't think it's D. So it's either B or C. I think I have to go with C because a good part of it was that Picasso was an improviser, and I think I would mark out B in this case because I don't think B Guernica. I think it's too narrow. It only focuses on one paragraph, and I think it's a bit more broad. It covers more of the passage as a whole. So that's why I'm going for C. Question 4. An art student is given the assignment to produce a work that is keeping with Picasso's work. What advice would the author be most likely to give this person? A, avoid realism in their paintings. Maybe, I'm not sure. B, combine different elements from Picasso's paintings. C, do not worry about being creative. I don't think it's C. And D, use unusual and untested methods of painting. I think A is too narrow. Doesn't best answer the question, I think. It only focuses on one portion. So I'm going to mark that out. And it's B or D. But I feel like D best answers the question because in one of the paragraphs it talks about Picasso doing these new techniques, doing these new methods, and then creating, and I think that matches best with D. I think B was something that Picasso didn't do. He didn't just like copy and just combine those elements, but he used new ones as well. So I think D for this one. Question 5. What is the sixth paragraph imply about the performers? So, excuse me. So paragraph 6. I have to go back. I don't think it's A. A is too broad. It's out of scope, I think. And I don't think it's D. Because I think it is, that doesn't like consider the entirety of the context of the sentence, because the sentence over here says the extraordinary confidence behind every mark he makes. It's the confidence of a born performer. I like to say it's either B or C. I don't know. I'm going to go back to question 5. Implicit in the passage is the assumption that... Okay, so it's not B. B is too... That's not the main idea of the passage. It's not C either. Out of scope. I think it's A, because that's what the last half of the passage is about. A good chunk. So I think it's A for that one. So let's go. I think for question 5 it's B. I'm going to choose that. I'm going to move on.